Welcome to Racing News, coming to you from our studios in Durban. In the show this week, in South Africa, 6 of our 8 racetracks are right-handed, with just the 2 Western Cape tracks of Kenilworth and Durbanville running in the opposite direction. Have you ever wondered why tracks are either run clockwise or counterclockwise? And shouldn't we perhaps have more than 2 counterclockwise tracks in South Africa? Quite possibly. But first, with an average growth rate of 25% predicted over the next 5 years for social media, it's one of the fastest growing industries in South Africa. We look at its importance in the racing industry and a young man who is making all the difference. Let's face it, it's 2018 and we all think we have a good understanding of social media and how it works, right? Well, what if you were to know that Twitter has 6 different communication networks and that Facebook is most active on Fridays? Do you still think you're a social media guru? Well, someone who is new kid on the block in Gold Circle's media division, Tawanda Tarovinga. He's someone who is already making inroads in the game with his refreshingly different and quirky take on racing's image. Tell me what you do for Gold Circle and the clips that you are putting together.
Well, for Gold Circle, what I'm doing is I'm bringing a different energy to horse racing. I'm bringing a different vibe, a different outlook, a different opinion. You know, I'm talking with the punters, I'm talking with the race goers, I'm talking with everybody, right? I'm talking even with the small kids that come for the kids zone, right? I'm speaking with everybody, getting their opinions, getting just picking their brains about what they think about what's happening at Gold Circle, the horses they like, the jockeys, the trainers, the horse owners, like everybody.
Wonderful. Now, do you think what you're doing has a value and has a place in the racing industry?
Yes. It definitely does, because it creates a way of communicating with the punters and the people that come to the race course, right? So we are able to get their opinions and hear what they have to say, what they think about the race course, about horse racing, about the jockeys, about, you know, even when they're complaining, you know, we're able to hear what they have to say about Gold Circle and horse racing in general. So yeah.
And do people on course love what you're doing?
Yeah, most of them react in a positive way. You know, they wanna see themselves when I post the videos on Facebook, right? And they give me some nice opinions. Some of them don't really want to be in front of the camera. Some of them just maybe, you know, punting, you win, you lose. So after a loss, you really don't want to speak with anybody, and worse being in front of the camera. So yeah, it's crazy. But most of the time, I get very positive reactions from people.
And lastly, to wonder, where can we see all these clips and videos that you're creating?
Well, the videos are posted daily on Facebook. Gold Circle on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram and you can see them there. Gold Circle Horse Racing on Instagram, yeah. Watch the space.
To the haters, the doubters, the nations that prohibit and ban, to anyone that has ever told anyone who wants to have fun, they can't. This video is for you. Do what you used to. Play it safe. Don't risk it. Don't go to places you don't know. Stick to what you know. Ask permission. Do what is expected of you. This is terrible advice. If I would write an autobiography, a book about my life, one title that would work would be Do What You Don't. Because that idea encapsulates everything I've ever done. Like when I wanted to go and bet, but my friends were like, you don't bet.
I was just on number 5.
Or when I said I wanted to meet the CEO of Gold Circle, and my dad said, you don't just meet the CEO. I want to have a job and meet people at the race course. You don't, Tawanda. You don't go to the race course. And to go even further, if I were to characterize this new generation of horse bettors and race course goers, what we did is, we did what we didn't do. And now, we wouldn't have it any other way.
What's up, man? What's going on?
You don't go to the race course because it's for rich people. But you get your crazy friends to dress up like rich tycoons, eat pasta on a beautifully set picnic table, and you do. Right, bro? Yes! You don't go to the race course because you don't like horses. But you like beer, grind, wine, kids, and you do. You afraid you lose money when you bet. But you get to Greyville and you place your bet anyway because it's fun. You don't need to look smart, you don't need to pay or tickets, you don't need to own a horse. When you're at Greyville, you don't need anybody in your ear telling you how you can and can't be. They call us punters, speculators, high rollers.
What the hell does that mean?
But we know something they don't. We are here for the happy hours, the beef breweries. And aside from racing, the cage fighting, music festivals, India fairs, car festivals, and many, many more other cool events. When you're at Greyville, all you need is your friends, a good mood, and you need to choose a favorite horse. And then you create a story you want to share. Something that you do. And then the rest is history. And if you do it right, you'll win money, you'll win prizes, and you'll make friends from places you've never been.
You don't have horse racing in Germany.
Your life becomes so exciting, so cheerful, you won't even have time to process it. So to my fellow doers, I say keep doing, keep exploring. And never forget, you don't have to listen to anyone, because in this new world, no one knows anything.
Hi.
The haters, the doubters, are all drinking slushies at Lagoon Beach, and we are a huge tsunami. Do what you don't.
Social networks are one of the fastest growing industries in the world. It's estimated that over the next 5 years, social media will post no less than a 25% annual growth rate. It's become abundantly clear that if companies are wanting to maintain or grow market share, social media is no longer a nice to have, but a need to have. Have you ever wondered how the direction of running at a track is decided upon? How is it that Scottsville is clockwise, yet Kenilworth is anti-clockwise? Turfentine is right-handed, yet Durbanville left. Of the 8 racetracks in South Africa, 6 are run in a clockwise direction and just 2 counterclockwise. Racing clockwise in Europe is common, yet almost unheard of in the US. So is it a case of deciding between right or left, this way or that way? We have to go back in time a bit to understand why. Horse racing became a professional sport in England under the reign of Queen Anne, just after the turn of the 17th century. Straight courses were replaced with oval tracks, with horses more commonly running in a clockwise direction. Interestingly, elsewhere in the world, once the leading town made its decision as to choice of running direction, the other courses in that country generally followed suit. This was particularly evident in the US, where unlike England, tracks were set up anti- or counterclockwise. This move away from tradition dates back to the American War of Independence and pioneer settler William Whitley. As a staunch supporter of the Revolution, Whitley insisted on a departure from English custom, including the way in which racing was conducted. In 1780, he established Sportsman's Hill, near his home in Kentucky. It was the first oval right-handed track in the US, and unlike the turf tracks in England, Sportsman's Hill was dirt. The track quickly became the model for racing throughout the US. By the time of Whitley's death in 1813, left-handed tracks had become established practice with the exception of Belmont Park. But even August Belmont was not able to break the mold set by Whitley. Man O' War was to be the last horse to win the Belmont Stakes right-handed, as in 1921 the direction of running changed. Such was William Whitley's influence on American racing that in 1993 a monument was erected on the site of the course dedicated to the racetrack that changed the direction of horse racing in the US. So what of other racing jurisdictions around the world today? A quick look shows that all of the United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa and Japan have both right and left-handed tracks. The US is predominantly left-handed, along with the UAE and Singapore, whilst Hong Kong has right-handed courses. Today we see a mix of both right and left-handed tracks worldwide. So how does this compare with other sports? Well, let's take a look. In Formula One racing, almost all tracks are in a clockwise direction. Well, almost all, as there are a few courses on the F1 circuit, mostly outside Europe, where tracks run counterclockwise. But this is not the same when it comes to NASCAR. Like horse racing in the US, NASCAR takes place in a counterclockwise direction, the same direction that the Romans raced their chariots. If motor racing is the modern-day equivalent, then it is plausible that NASCAR was set up to race left-handed. A bit far-fetched? Maybe not. Athletic tracks are counterclockwise as well. Again, when looking back to ancient Rome, hippodromes seem to have been set up for counterclockwise races, with the finish line at the end of the straight, as in modern day. There are a host of other theories as well. As most people are right-handed, their right side or right leg is stronger than their left side or left leg. Physicists believe that when these people put their right feet forward, before then leaning away from them into a turn, they generate more power than if they were to run on a right-handed track. It also makes sense for the stronger leg to cover slightly more distance by being on the outside. Now, can the same be said for horses, and are they more dominant on one side than the other?
In the veterinary field, I think we do find it easier to horses to trot on the left circle. So from that point of view, I would always think that they are more dominant left side than right side. It is quite interesting that the dominance seems to be less affected by what the horse does in the period when it starts to get trained, but it's rather that it's born that way, and irrespective of what it does, whether it trains on the right-handed track or whether it gets led on the left or the right, it seems to be dominant left. 75% is the average that they maintain, is a horse is dominant left. It is quite interesting that the tracks seem to be mostly right-handed. The training tracks in South Africa are all right-handed, but we get on the left, and when we trot horses, we have the rider, the groom on the left, and we do most things easier on the left.
If it's difficult to determine which side a horse is dominant on, don't fear, as Irish researchers are here to help. They've identified a unique link between equine motor handedness and specific characteristics of facial hair whorls. They found that right-handed horses had significantly more clockwise whorls, whereas whorls were more likely to flow in a counterclockwise direction in left-handed horses. And theories don't end here either. A human body is slightly heavier on the left than the right because of the position of the heart. When running counterclockwise, the body tends to incline very slightly towards the left, which could be an advantage while running to the left. So what about the placement of a horse's heart?
Yes, it's very similar. Yeah, the larger chamber is on the left, and it is at a slight diagonal, so yes, it would be the same in my opinion.
Could we go as far as saying then that a horse is slightly heavier on the left-hand side like a human?
Possibly.
As with humans, is it advantageous to run horses counterclockwise as well? Well, quite possibly. It certainly proved advantageous with merry-go-round horses, who have been content to keep on running counterclockwise since 1861. You will also hear people contend that the direction of the Earth's rotation makes it faster to run counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere than clockwise. This belief is based on what is known as the Coriolis effect. This effect causes moving objects on the surface of the Earth to be deflected to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. Surely then, as we are in the southern hemisphere, we should be using the Coriolis effect to our full advantage by racing horses counterclockwise. Wouldn't that be the most natural way? More after the break. And that's exactly what happened. With the overwhelming scientific evidence, the decision was recently taken to run races counterclockwise at Scottsville every other race meeting. We spoke to Gold Circle Director and KZN Chairman of the Trainers Association, Paul Lafferty.
It came as a surprise initially because I'm Chairman of the Trainers Association, and Gold Circle had sent out a memo which I think Duncan Howells was initially, because he lives across the road from the racecourse, and he had put forward the idea that they can save the turf, always battle over the winter season with the turf if we move the winning post down. I think it's a very good idea. You couldn't have a left-handed track here up at Greyville. Having lost Clarewood, you know, we obviously considered it seriously, and Graham Hawkins and Gold Circle management took a long look after they got the heads up from Duncan Howells.
So what support did Paul receive?
When I put it to the Trainers Association, I said, listen, every second meeting could be the other way around to save the turf and the back stretch. Frank Robinson was very for it. Him and Mace said, no, it's a very good idea because in Natal we haven't got a left-hand bend.
Paul, with the interest in South African bloodstock and horses of ours going to race internationally, it's a good idea that our horses can race both directions.
There are racetracks all over that are left and right. Talking about which way, who goes left and who goes right, Singapore is left, well, Del Mar is left-handed, Santa Anita is left, Cameron Bancroft's left, and on the right side there's some major courses. I know I worked in the UK, and Steve Smith's right, you know, so.
There's a lot of right and left talk going on here. Will you adopt a different training regime to prepare horses to run left-handed here in KZN if they're only accustomed to having raced right?
You definitely can find yourself in a situation where you could speak to people at Sunfeld to allow us to work the other way around. And I know, again, Frank Robinson was very big on it. You know, he was talking to guys about doing it. We're worried about the downhill pull-up.
Knowing the courage and bravery of our jockeys, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But what about race riding? Kevin, as a jockey, how easy is it to adapt from racing clockwise to anti-clockwise?
Michelle, you know, we do favour the right legs of a horse in Durban because they're all clockwise tracks. But you do adapt. When I was in the academy, we were taught to use horses' legs. And the senior jockeys, when you're riding, work with them as well, they teach you as well. So using horses' legs is very, very important.
What horses have you ridden in the past that have had a preference for one side to the other?
Well, a perfect example is Irish Flame. As you know, Mark de Kock bought him from Mr. Higgins in Cape Town, and that was anti-clockwise. He wasn't a top horse in Cape Town, but he was behind the best. When he brought him to Durban, clockwise, he was a different horse. An example is he started, I think, 1-3 in the Derby, and he won a half a length. His next start, he started in the Daily News Yana, and he beat Bold Savannah and went on to run second in July. Loved the right-hand turn, hated the left-hand turn, and unfortunately he went to Dubai, and that's left-hand turn, so we never saw the best of Irish Flame overseas.
So do you think this decision of racing horses counterclockwise at Scottsville might be advantageous to those horses who have a dominance for the left leg and a preference for the left leg?
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. I can't really wait for the meeting to go ahead, and the guys are going to have to be ready for it. There's quite a sharp turn at Scottsville around this coming into the straight, so the guys are going to have to get these horses on their right legs. I think the jocks, it'll be a good initiation for the jocks to learn how to use horses on a left and a right-hand turn.
And a last comment from Paul.
The Coriolis effect must be addressed. We must race left-handed, and I think it's a very positive step.
So all look set for anti-clockwise racing at Scottsville. Or maybe not. Today is April the 1st. Happy April Fool's Day, everyone. We hope we've all given you some good laughs and some heart-stopping moments as well.
Gravity has lost it completely. Yeah.
Whilst our show this week may be full of April Fool's news, here's one that's not. We've come to the media centre today, and outside we have Budgie and Lef, two budgies who reside here at the media centre. And these two are tweeting as only budgies know how. Be sure to catch them on Twitter. That's it for this week's show. And rest easy, Scottsville will not be changing its running direction. We play out with the great Australian mare Winx, winning the George Ryder Cup and in the process breaking the record for the most number of Grade 1 wins. We'll see you again in a fortnight.
But Winx is edging clear for a world record of 17 Group 1s, and Winx wins it by 3/4. Winx, what a race it was today. Winx edging clear from Happy Clapper, a dual Group 1 winner. He's run the race of his life today.
The Racing News Show and previous screenings are available online at www.goldcircle.co.za. Click on the YouTube icon, go to playlists and click on Racing News to access all shows to date.